And then we made people swim, first of all, in a big water dam, like a 1 kilometer long water body, open water swimming. Then people had to run through some forest trails. And then the third thing is that we made them actually, this was not suitable for road biking, actually. We made them mountain bike through paddy fields and trails in behind the villages.
So, welcome to the very first episode of the video interviews that I'm going to be conducting for Triathlon Made Easy. And thanks a lot, Peter, for really agreeing to join the channel and being the first person that I'm going to interview. And
Okay.
I've known Peter since 2016, because that's when I did my first half Iron distance triathlon in Chennai, which was organized by him. And for those of you who don't know who Peter is, I think Peter, this is a great time where you can introduce yourself. So over to you.
Yeah,
Tell us about yourself.
Yeah, pleasure to be here, by the way. So yeah, my name is Peter. So although I don't look very Indian or South Indian, I've been here for the last 22 years. I came on a flight from Belgium in '98, basically for work purposes. Set up a small software office in Chennai. As in those days, I mean, 97, 98, it was very difficult to find engineers, IT engineers in Europe. So, I mean, that was just the official reason and the work part. But the real thing that I fell in love with in India is immediately the raw, untouched nature. So I started initially exploring the whole of South India, including even the Himalayas in 2000 onwards, using my Enfield bike, which later was replaced by then a mountain bike. And then eventually I started running long distances. So India has a lot of like untouched natural virgin beauty that was really, I mean, was really amazing to explore different types of ways.
So were you an outdoors person before you came to India, or were you doing a lot of trekking and hiking and running in Belgium as well?
Yeah, so to some extent, so my parents actually exposed me at very young age to the mountains. They took me on the summer holidays to the Swiss Alps. That was just once a year. We went to the mountains. I come from Belgium, the northern part, Flanders, which is pretty flat. I mean, the highest hill we have there is 300 meter high, which is not even be named a mountain. But then I grew up on on the outskirts of a small town, like very green, like on a kind of a farm where we used to swim in the lakes in the neighborhood with my neighbors who were of similar age. We used to play soccer. I used to climb in trees, used to dig tunnels under the ground. So I was always exposed directly to nature, and I was also very active. So that's, I mean, that's exposure at very young age made a big impression on me. Then later on, used to run through the countryside, not like formal running events, but just me and the neighborhood kids, 3 kilometers, try to see who can go as fast as possible. But this was always in a pretty kind of a developed environment, like Europe, Belgium has a lot of cities, roads. You don't have virgin mountains or forests there, like in South India. Best thing, you have the countryside with a lot of farmlands. So when I came to India in '98, I mean, I was in for a surprise because here you had these huge unexplored mountain ranges with a lot of jungles and forests, which were perfect grounds for me to kind of start exploring and do really wilderness treks, where in Europe you more go for guided city tours. Here it was really raw exploration of the wilderness.
Yes, and there's a big wild side to India, which probably you can't find it back in Belgium. So this is a question Please
continue.
So this is a question I always had, that it took somebody from Belgium to come all the way here and start an outdoor community. So how did you start the community, and how was the response, and who were the first few people who came together and formed the Chennai Trekking Club, right? Can you tell us more about it and what are the difficulties that you faced while starting something like this?
Sure, Abhishek. I mean, that's quite an interesting question. I mean, especially looking back after so many years. So initially, I think, as I said, I used to explore a lot solo on my bike. That was the initial kind of 10 years in India, I would say, to 98 to almost till 2006-7. 2006-7, I was working in a company called Scientific Atlanta, a US company who had taken over the Belgium company who sent me here. We were growing a little bit, more young people came, and then we started kind of exploring a bit as hikers, not bikers anymore, but as hikers, doing small treks. This, of course, was to more touristic spots like Thalaiva waterfalls or like Jinji Fort or say, you have the Chaklespoor railway track, which used to be.
What year was this?
Excuse me?
What year was this?
This was like 97, I would say. So then we had some like 10, 15 youngsters in the organization that we used to go out, not frequently, like say every month we used to go for a trek here and there. But then something interesting happened, which I would face then for the next 10 years after that. The fact is that people who are pretty active in outdoors or sports with you between college and marriage then used to disappear completely once they get married. Then you will never see them again. They would have come with you for like 1 or 2 years every weekend. But even in Chennai Trekking Club, we used to have like a big organizing team, guys who used to be with me in the forests for like say 2-3 years continuously every weekend, simply disappear from the face of the planet after they step into the sacred bond. So because
I
of
can
that,
imagine that. I can relate to that a bit. So.
Yeah. So because of that, of course, I mean, the youngsters in my company quickly disappeared after 1 or 2 years. So in the year 98, I felt like I really like what I'm seeing. I was exploring a lot of untouched places in Karnataka, Kerala, Tamil Nadu, and Andhra. And I really wanted to take this forward on a very regular basis, like go out to a different place every weekend. But I was losing company. By that time, I transformed from a solo biker into like going out with a like-minded group also had its unique aspects. It's more interesting if you go out with a like-minded set of people to these places. So I thought, okay, let me set up a website at least, collect some of these pictures we have taken in the last, say, 10 trips with my company buddies, put a nice write-up for every location, and then put one simple registration link there where anyone interested in to do these kind of trips, please get in touch with me. I set up a mailing list in Google Groups. And then it was surprising to see, you would not believe it, within 2 months, I think, from February 2008, I was going out with like 30 new people every weekend. So the response was overwhelming. A lot of people there wanted to go out. And you have to also be aware that Chennai at that time had like lakhs and lakhs of people coming out of engineering colleges, working in IT, sitting 5 days a week behind a computer screen, and really were looking there. At that time, there was no Facebook or anything. They were Googling, or through word of mouth. Say people who come with us, take pictures, would then to talk to their own friend circle, and very soon, like 50-50 word of mouth, Google. We had like hundreds of new people joining every month. I think we ended up with 2,000 members in the first year of Chennai Trekking Club. And when I say members here, I mean the fact that you don't come with us and then you disappear like most of the travel companies. We actually used to maintain an active mailing list. So even if you did not join a given weekend or even a given quarter with us, you used to constantly get bombarded with beautiful pictures of pristine waterfalls, jungles, forests. So that used to be very inspiring for even people who did not join with us to kind of finally say, okay, let me also go for that first trek, then fall in love and then start coming with us almost every weekend. So that's how the whole thing started.
That's amazing. And this was, I believe this was before social media came to the picture. This was before WhatsApp. This was before Facebook. So I find it, frankly, very unbelievable to be able to reach out to 2,000 people without social media. And that is something which is amazing.
So, that's a good point. I mean, if you look these days, it's with both, I would say there are two reasons, social media and then also the fact of digital photography with cameras. So anyone with a smartphone now can go to a place, publish it on social media, and immediately there will be that awareness created. Many other people would go. But those days, it was a totally different story. It was plain text-based Google. And then only because we had that blog that we used to update every single weekend, typically a new joiner used to come with us. They'd be overwhelmed with the experience of going to these unseen natural places, post the pictures, never seen before, the whole write-up. And that used to trigger a lot of, engagement online through Google and search engines.
Yes, absolutely. So from trekking, how did you now move on to triathlon? Because I think for people who don't know this, Chennai Triathlon Club, the triathlons that they conducted were probably the first ever triathlons which were conducted. So I think when was the first triathlon conducted in Chennai by you guys?
So this was interesting. So from 2008 to 2012, actually, we were completely into like hiking and outdoors and getting into jungles and mountains. So then somewhere, I think it was September 2012, 4 years later only, I had never ran. So I was not into kind of a running, swimming, cycling type of sports, more like hiking. So then we thought, okay, on one given weekend, we did not have immediate trek plans. And we said, why don't we organize a run? Again, being a nature group, not like a run in the road, but we had some beautiful trail outside Chennai city, Buckingham Canal, nice pristine water body with a kind of a dirt track. And we said, okay, let us just organize, just like any other weekend, maybe we'll get 20, 30 people interested in running. And that was like a change in the history of CTC. We had like 500 people registered for that, which was the first event organized by us.
Okay.
And we didn't have a clue. We didn't know what was a marathon. We didn't know anything about beeps, aid stations, route marking, anything of that. So within a couple of weeks, we were learning everything, putting together everything. We had just charged like a dummy 100 rupees entry fees, which was not enough to cover the expenses of this whole enterprise. But then within a short time frame, we got 50 to 100 volunteers together, being by that time would have grown to maybe 8 to 10,000 people, members. And we put out some simple tables, some bubble tubs, basic refreshments, and it turned out to be a huge success. We did like a 3K, 5K, 10K, and even a full marathon eventually also happened. So that was like unique. We learned a lot. The people who came liked it a lot, because again, it was not commercial. It was like really a lot of amazing ambience that you cannot experience in any
commercial race.
Volunteers there cheering up, doing it for just the heck of it. And many of the volunteers, typically of any triathlon or marathon that we used to organize, eventually got inspired by the people coming and running and going through these, and then became the participants of the next run or triathlon. So that was the first marathon. That's where it started. So after that initial seeing that there was a lot of scope in that field beyond taking people to the mountains, then just 2 months later, we organized the first triathlon. So that was again done CTC style.
What year was this?
2012 November.
2012, okay.
2 months after this first Chennai Trail Marathon, as we called it. And that was also unique in the sense that it was not like getting people in the city in a swimming pool, or cycling and running on the road. No, it took actually the venue for this first triathlon to be in the place where we normally go trekking, which is a place called Nagalapuram, some mountain range just over the border with Andhra. So there we made people come. We had a big lorry move all the cycles from Chennai to that place the previous night, stay there in some shacks with some farmer. And then we made people swim, first of all, in a big water dam, like a 1 kilometer long water body, open water swimming. Then people had to run through some forest trails. And then the third thing is that we made them actually, this was not suitable for road biking, actually. We made them mountain bike through paddy fields and trails behind the villages. So that was actually an Olympic-sized triathlon. So after that initial event and seeing again the response and the fact that, whoa, this is running, swimming, cycling, like a very interdisciplinary, interesting experience, both for participants and the volunteering, the organizing team. We then brought this closer to the city in the next year and started doing this almost twice a year, all the way from enticer to really give people new, because a lot of people in India, they don't know how to swim.
Yes.
They jump in a well in the best case if they're from the village. In the city, they don't know how to swim.
It's very surprising because India has such a vast coastline. We've got one of the biggest coastlines,
Exactly.
and we don't know how to swim. It's very,
Yeah.
it's ironic. So how did
Correct.
you, what was the challenge? Because I know this because I have been following Chennai Trekking Club since 2015, and I have seen
Okay.
a few pictures of the club where some of you guys are actually teaching the people how to swim, and those lessons are happening in the open water, in the quarry, in a lot of freshwater reservoirs. So can you tell
Yeah.
us more about it? Like, what was the challenge that you faced?
Yeah, so after that initial triathlon near the, we called it Jungle Olympic Triathlon, I remember, at the base of the mountains, we thought, okay, yeah, logistics is a little bit
How
different.
many people were able to participate?
That was actually nice, some 30 people, but the
30 people.
logistics were complicated. I mean, getting 30 cycles transported on the back of a lorry all the way to a place. The lorry even got stuck somewhere because it was raining heavily. Took us a JCB eventually to get out the lorry and the cycles and start the event. So we then thought, okay, it makes more sense to organize it closer to the city in order to scale up the numbers. So initially, again, we started, say, looking inside the city, like swimming pools. We have a couple of these Olympic-sized swimming pools, 50-meter length, like I think 40 or 50-meter wide. So we used to kind of have 2 lanes or all the lanes, but again, capacity was limited there. You cannot put more than say 8 to 10 people in a single lane, or it becomes too crowded. Plus the fact if you swim inside the city, then automatically your cycling and running is also limited to the city limits. Being an outdoor organization, you really wanted to have a more beautiful setting, natural setting.
Correct.
So then very soon, around I think 2014 or 15, we used to do runnings, these 10 by 10 runs to create more awareness on running by that time in the outskirts of the city, beautiful trails. And there actually, by pure coincidence, I discovered like a huge quarry, a huge water body that was like a quarry, bluestone quarry that they used to mine stones to put tar roads in the city. So once these quarries are abandoned, they basically leave them and they fill up over a couple of years with beautiful natural rainwater. And this particular quarry was amazing, 150-meter long, 60-meter wide, and maybe like, God knows, 50-meter deep.
Yeah, it was very deep and it's very clean water. I've never had such a swim experience, and amazing place.
Then you have to imagine, right? You deal with, say, a city or a country of non-swimmers, and you want to take them to an open water body, 50-meter deep and 150-meter long. So then actually we started organizing, in more than the events, I think we made a big impact by organizing weekly training sessions, both for swimming and other things like running and cycling. For swimming, we had like 2 open water practice sessions this was during the weekdays again, because weekends were sacred for us. Weekends were for the mountains. Nobody could touch the weekends. So the training for open water swimming used to happen like 6 to 8 a.m. before people used to go to office 1 hour south of the city in this quarry. And there it was amazing. We did this for 4 years continuously, never had any incidents with safety or any issues in those deep waters because we had proper safety ropes. We had like a lot of experts there pulling out people who were new, a bit scared of the open waters. So twice a week, we almost had 50 people practicing very regularly. So giving people a really practice roadmap. And then given the fact that twice a year we were organizing that triathlon, people always had this, they signed up 3, 4, 5 months from now, and they had a commitment to practice.
Yeah, once you sign up and you know you have to swim, you have to train. So that's how it works. You put the cart in front of the horse. You don't put the horse in front of the cart.
So that combination was powerful, having twice a year triathlons and even thrice a year mountain trail runs, and then these regular weekends or weekly sports events gave people the opportunity to practice and grow. And then also the fact, right, that it was not about just half iron, it was about enticer. We had these little kids, 7, 8 years old, with their toy cycle given by mom and dad, participating in enticers, which was very inspiring. And people of your and my age in their 20s and 30s, they started feeling bad. An 8-year-old kid will finish an entire triathlon, and I can't even swim. So there was a lot of guilt going on, seeing these pictures on the social media by then. Facebook was there at that time. Like, whoa, little kids, elder people of 60, 70 years old finishing triathlons. And given the fact that we had the enticer, we had the sprint, we had the Olympic, we had the half, we had the 3/4 even, because there is a big jump to go to a full. So that I think 2014 onwards, we're actually organizing also as the only and the first in India, the full Iron.
The full Ironman, yes.
Where only 5 people initially completed in the first edition, but then tens and tens used to participate in further editions as people were getting used to open water swimming and long distance running over the years. And that was amazing. I mean, we were like just charging. Again, we are not interested for the commercial aspect. We're just doing it for the passion of seeing people like Zelen Sports just charging some 500 rupees compared to.
So let me get this straight. For the full Iron triathlon that you organized, and you provided them with nutrition, you provided them with the finisher medal, you provided them with all the basic facilities, right? And how much did you charge them?
I think it changed over the years, but I think it was some 600 to 800 rupees initially for the full Iron, fully supported, yeah. And that was in a beautiful natural setting again, right? People were running in like beautiful country trails. They were swimming in these beautiful natural open water bodies. And even cycling was fought outside the city. So it was like pretty pleasant to cycle on proper highways with road bikes in a very natural paddy field kind of setting outside the city.
Wow, that is amazing.
Anyone viewing this video, if you like this interview, please share it with your friends and relatives and ask them to subscribe to this channel.